Hi, I did a 2019 December the 12th general election prediction using tarot cards, and this is what I came up with, okay, based on the cards that I pulled. So I just pulled two cards each for Corbyn and Boris Johnson. At the moment, perceptively, Corbyn is coming out better. Okay, so basically, let's look at Boris first. He's looking like he's a man who promises the world. He promises paradise, but he isn't going to deliver paradise. Okay, he's very much a man of illusion. This is what the perception is of him. He's got the Ten of Cups in reverse. He's not going to deliver the Ten of Cups, although he says he will. So, and the actual truth is, the truth that we don't see is there's a lot of conflict going on in the Conservative Party. There could be external, in-party conflict, and there could be internal conflict for Boris Johnson as well. But we're not seeing this. We're basically seeing a Disney version of the Tory party right now, as of Saturday, 7th December, which is about 5 days before the actual vote. Now, perceptively, in the campaign, let's turn to Corbyn. Okay, he pulled the cards, King of Cups, as his perception. This is quite apt, I'd say, for him. The King of Cups is someone who is a master of his emotions. He's kind of calm. He's very inclusive. He generally rules with the people, not over the people, if you know what I mean. Okay, and the King of Cups is generally a more mature person in age and in the head as well, and generally a very wise person. And I guess this is where a lot of voters are going to sort of look up to him as like a wise old sage, almost like a wise old sort of grandfatherly figure. Now that's the public perception. In truth, what's happening in truth? Well, it's a very, very good card for him. The card that got pulled was the Sun, okay, which is the most positive card in the deck, and it was upright as well. Both of his cards were upright. The Sun is the most positive card. He's feeling positive. He's running a very positive campaign, as opposed to the quite negative campaign that Boris Johnson is now delivering. So, yeah. So what we don't know, or what we can't see, perhaps what the media isn't telling us, what the polls aren't telling us, what are in the minds of the voters out there, we see the Sun, okay, which basically suggests that Corbyn could deliver a very bright future. Okay, so let's move on to the actual election prediction. Now, I could explain the cards. I'll try and do that at the same time. Now, the initial result I predicted, okay, now I'm just going to think of the campaign leading up to the vote. Okay, it's a campaign based on truth. Okay, people want to know the truth. They don't want fake news. They don't want any kind of doctored videos, such as the ones that the Tory party have done through James Cleverly, etc., especially the one that he did on Keir Starmer. Okay, this is a campaign of truth. This is what we want. But it's going to be a very tense election. There's quite a large focus on money, how are we going to pay for things, how are we going to deliver these manifestos that Corbyn and Boris Johnson are promising. So there's a large focus on that. Also, people are concerned about the money to do with Brexit. Okay, so now I'll just explain the election prediction now. So I saw the initial result as, in one word, confusion. Okay, so the Tories will probably inch ahead of Labour by a small margin. Okay, they definitely will not have the majority they're looking for. Okay, now last time their result could even be worse than the last snap election that Theresa May had, where she had to buy the votes of the DUP in Northern Ireland. Okay, so he's going to have to do a similar thing. He's going to have to buy the votes of the other parties. Now, there are some obvious contenders, such as a Brexit party, possibly UKIP, if they really want to go that direction. They will obviously try DUP again. Now, I'm not sure if the DUP will actually accept that, because they're not in favour of the current arrangements for Brexit and the Northern Ireland border. Okay. Now, so whilst the Tories and Johnson will be trying to throw money at other parties, there will be Corbyn. He will be trying to whip up the support of other parties that have already sort of suggested that they can work with him, not including Jo Swinson Lib Dems though. So the initial result, very splintered. Okay, many other parties will win seats. It will be the most splintered result for years in history. Okay. Now, the final result, a Labour coalition. That's what I predict. Labour will join forces with the SNP, Plaid Cymru. They may also get the support of the Greens, some independents. But the big issue is, will they get support with the Lib Dems and Jo Swinson? Okay, and this is how I'm going to tell out this story. Okay, so how do we get to a Labour coalition? Okay, so obviously it's going to be hung parliament. The Tories are going to be the largest party overall initially. They're going to have first dibs in trying to form a government. Now, there's going to be a slightly tense limbo period where they really try and fight for this, trying to get enough of a majority. But I believe whilst the Tories are trying to do this, Corbyn will successfully get a majority coalition. Now, so the Brexit Party, how will they do? I think they're going to maybe get a few seats. I don't know if they're going to do absolutely amazing, but there are some ex-Tories such as Anne Widdecombe who look like a fairly obvious possibly winner of a seat. Maybe some others. I don't know if they're going to do fantastically, especially as Nigel Farage has decided not to put himself up for election, which kind of, I don't know, suggests some kind of like weakness there. Now, the DUP, yes, I've explained that. They probably won't go into coalition with the Tories. Now, so the Tories are now throwing lots of money around. This won't go down well in the press. There's going to be a backlash. The voters, the people of the country will not like this at all. Even Tory voters, they're not going to like billions of pounds being thrown or being trying to thrown at other parties to try and gain their support. So, this kind of cements a kind of sort of dodgy dealings that the Tory parties seem to be doing and covering up anyway. And people and MPs in general have generally had enough of this. They're pretty much fed up. So, let's move on to Corbyn. So he's going to be appealing to other parties to form a coalition. Now, I think his biggest hurdle will be Lib Dems and Jo Swinson. Now, the cards that I pulled for her were probably the worst cards out of the bunch. Okay, so they're going to be caught up in so much inner conflict within Jo Swinson and in a party conflict. Jo Swinson has adamantly said that she does not want to work with Jeremy Corbyn. But at the same time, how could she ever work with Boris Johnson? Her whole campaign has been based on remaining, okay, and basically throwing out Brexit immediately. How could she work with Boris Johnson when they're so ardently for Brexit? If they start a coalition for there, then the Remain vote will completely be overruled by the Tories, because they will have that massive majority against Lib Dems. Even though Lib Dems will probably do quite well, considering the size of their party. I think there's been a surge of support, especially since Swinson's come into power, or leadership rather. Now, so that's not going to really work for Swinson. She's going to be massively conflicted. Will she do right for herself and her own intentions of power, or will she do right for the country and for her own party? She may even have to stand down from the Lib Dems because of so much conflict. She may have to just suck up, swallow the bullet, or whatever you call it, and work with Corbyn. Now, Corbyn obviously has Keir Starmer, who looks like a very strong candidate for a Labour leadership. I don't know if this is going to come into play. Possibly. He hasn't been in politics very long. I think he's been an MP since 2015. He doesn't have as much experience as politician as a lot of the other sort of high-level leaders, but he just seems like a very palatable, good candidate for potential Labour leadership. Okay. He may come into this kind of bargaining. He may not. It may be the fact that Jo Swinson has to stand down as Lib Dem leader in order for them to be able to work with a coalition. But as I said, if they actually get into bed with a coalition with the Tories again, as they did in 2010, it's really not going to go down well at all with anyone. MPs, public, it's going to be a big no-no, and it could really ruin the Lib Dems pretty much forever if they make this decision again. Now, the SNP, they will join forces with Labour. And Sturgeon, well, she does want another Scottish independence vote. It could possibly be on the table in some kind of deal, but I know Corbyn doesn't really want that.